Welcome to the Caddo Convos, the podcast that explores the vibrant community of businesses thriving in Caddo Office Reimagined. We're here to shine a light on the incredible entrepreneurs and professionals who make the most of our private offices, co-working spaces, and day office rentals in the Dallas-Fort Worth suburbs. Join us as we share their stories, celebrate their successes, and dive into the benefits of working in a space that's close to home but offers so much more than working from home. Let's get started with today's conversation. So joining me today on the Caddo Convos is Penny Armbruster with 1610 Bookkeeping and Consulting. Penny, great to have you here in the studio.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, buddy.
Excellent. So we just met today and we get to learn all about your business. So let's start there. What is your business and what sets you apart?
My business is 1610 Bookkeeping and Consulting. What sets me apart is that it's a team of people that we love to serve kingdom-minded business owners and nonprofits and churches.
Excellent.
So what sets me apart is I think that people are kind of tired of having a relationship, a one-time-a-year relationship with their accounting firm. And we intend to have a lifetime relationship with our clients. Sometimes my clients call me to talk about personal issues and, all within boundaries.
Sure.
But I want to make sure we got those relationships that it's not just, they're trusting me with a really, really delicate part of their lives.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Because people are more tight about their finances than they are just about anything. Like people really clinch up when you say something about their finances.
Yeah.
They'll probably tell you their health problems all day long.
They will.
But when it comes to their finances. So who's your ideal customer?
What's funny, buddy, is people will tell me about their finances.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's how I figured out.
It's appropriate
That's
for
how
you.
I figured out it was a calling. Because
Okay.
my husband will find me in parties and he'll be like, "Where have you been?" And I'm like, "Oh, so-and-so was over there telling me about their finances."
I can't imagine they approach you, just you person. I want to talk to you about your finances. Hopefully it comes up in conversation of what
naturally.
you do. Yeah.
It just happens naturally.
That looks like a person I could talk to about my money.
They've vomited all over me, their whole entire issues. They're like, "Well, let me tell you, I've got this, and this going on." And I'm like, "Oh,
that's interesting.
I didn't ask."
Yeah, I didn't ask. But now I have to know.
I love it.
Right.
No, I love it.
And so you say you love it. What about it do you think you love the most?
I love speaking hope and joy. I like to be the hope for my clients. A lot of them are tired.
Yeah.
They're business owners.
Sure.
And they're tired. And they talk to coaches and consultants all the time. They're always doing marketing. They're always doing that kind of stuff. But they don't have somebody that's in their corner financially. And so I want to be that. I love that part of it. I love that part of being able to speak hope. And to speak the future. So what's really important to me is not just doing accounting and doing it right, but using those numbers to look forward.
Yeah.
And so nobody cares what we did last month, last quarter, last year. Who cares? Let's all done. Let's leave the past in the past, especially entrepreneurs. They are not living in the past. They're living in the future. So what I think is most important is taking those numbers and putting them in a cash flow forecast, putting them in a budget, making sure that we're planning for what's going to happen this year, and not just what's going to make sure that the bank is positive, but let's achieve some goals this year. What do you want to do? You want more time at home? You want to start a retirement fund this year? You want to provide benefits for your employees? What is it that you want to do this year? And let's make a plan and put out the steps to get there. It seems big until you put it on paper.
Right. That's terrific. Imagine you have a number of customers, but there are always those ones that stand out that came to you probably
good or bad.
I'd say let's start with somebody
start with the good
how about middle of the road, like someone that hopefully they at least had a plan and came to you and you solved it in their customer today. We don't have to mention names. You might mention the business genre that they're in.
You want some wins?
Yeah, let's do
some
wins.
Is that what you're asking
Everybody
for?
loves a good win.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of my very first clients came on and they had been with another firm for 6 years and they were paying for their taxes and their books to be completed. When I got their books, I figured out that their books hadn't actually been balanced in 6 years, had not been reconciled in the whole 6 years. And that the firm was signing off on tax returns that were done. So what happens in those big firms is that somebody is completing the tax returns and a CPA is signing off on them.
Yeah.
And you get what you pay for. She was paying very, very little. And when she came to me, and she had no idea what her revenue was, what her net profit was. She had no idea what her gross profit was, nothing. And then a few months later, once I got everything caught up and we went through that, went over that hump, we were at a quarterly meeting with another outside consultant, and he asked me what their gross profit was. And she jumped in and knew the answer. And so for me, it was such a proud moment to like stand back and be like, I am so proud that my client knows what their gross profit margin is. Like they know where they're living at. And this quarter, I was able to send her reports this quarter compared to last quarter, and quadrupled revenue and tripled profit.
Wow.
Just because she like had the understanding of like what's really going on in her business.
Right. Yeah.
And made a whole bunch of choices this year based on that.
Based on actual data.
Yeah.
Not just how do we feel,
Right.
Accounting
well, and that was
feel
one of the things for that person. She was such a giving person. And so she was very led by emotions a lot of times in giving to everything in the universe. So when I came on, I came on as a consultant and said, hey, let's budget for generosity and make sure that that's part of your heart in starting this business, but let's put it into the budget and make a plan for it this year and then reevaluate that on a quarterly basis or an annual basis. And so that's what she did. And that helped her so much because she wasn't living with guilt or being emotion driven, but she was living within like, hey, this is what I've budgeted and this is what I'm going to do this year.
That's a win.
That's a win.
Now, I want to address something is not having your taxes or basically your books solid for 6 years. That's a ripple effect that goes back for years because I know tax filing and things like that. How do you address it when they bring it to you like that? As in, do you say, we need to talk to a CPA because you may owe or be owed? There's possibly upside, unlikely, but, how do you address that when you see that?
There's a couple so you can go back and amend them. So I do have an EA on my team. I don't know if you're familiar with it. EA is. Yeah. It's an enrolled agent. Okay. So they're kind of like the specialists of the tax world. All they do is taxes. Okay. And so they have all the same rights as a CPA. There's 3 people that can represent you in tax court. It's an EA, a CPA, and a tax attorney. Okay. So I usually have to start with that education and make sure that people understand that. And then a lot of times it's just education. For that client, she didn't know what she didn't know. Absolutely. And so then I had to go through and show her. I don't get real detailed because it's not your job to know as a client, as a business owner. It's not your job to know my job, but it's your job to know enough of my job to know that my job's being done correctly. And so I want to make sure my clients have that power. So it started with empowering her. We moved her to a new CPA, and at that point we have to evaluate: is it worth the money to go back and amend those tax returns? Was it in her benefit or not? And so it's just kind of a case-by-case basis, whether we want to amend them or not.
Excellent. Well, I want to save the bad story for later, but I want to keep everybody along. Stay with us because right now I just want to talk the process. So when I'm looking for someone that does what you do, I don't know what I don't know. Right. So what is you mentioned kind of the education is the number one thing, but let's talk about I've reached out to you. We've agreed to meet. What do I come prepared with to meet with you? Like, talk to me through the customer journey to get to you and become a customer.
When I meet with my clients, I do not get into the numbers very much. Okay. Because honestly, they've had to jump they've already run over one speed bump to actually agree to talk to me about their finances. Mm-hmm. Most people, when they call me, it's already a train wreck. And it's kind of like opening that closet that nobody sees in your house. And so I know that they've already come there. So when that first conversation with me is going to be more goal driven, what do you want to accomplish with this business? What's your dream for this year? Let's start there because that's the foundation and that's what's going to drive this relationship. It's not cleaning up the books and getting the taxes done. That's secondary. What's going to drive this relationship is really our goals for this year. Does that make sense?
It does. Well, you want them to be comfortable with you, and you want to be comfortable.
It's all
with
about
them.
relationship.
Yeah, you've got to find your people, and they find you. So it's important to have those initial discovery basically of what we can do for each other. Interesting. So now let's get to the bad. Everybody wants to hear the stuff that you've seen.
Stories?
It's like telling the So let's hear one of those again. Let's preserve their dignity. If
it's
we
funny.
can.
I'm in a family of medical professionals.
Oh my
sister's an RN. My brother's a paramedic. And when we have like Thanksgiving, like they tell their horror stories, and I'm like, Yeah. Let me tell you about the 500,000. And it's not the same.
The nightmare. Yeah, true.
Well, that one was one of mine. The client that came 6 years, but another one came this year, a franchise, and they had used a company that the franchisor had recommended. So they had a bookkeeping company doing their books. And when they came to us, I was like, sweet. All of their balance sheet has been reconciled. So that's a good question to ask. If you don't know what you're talking about, it's a question to ask. Like, what balance sheet accounts do you reconcile? And then listen for their response, because there's a whole lot of people out there that say they are bookkeepers, and all they are is they're just entering data into a software. They don't know actually the accounting behind it. So that's a great question to ask. And when we dove in, we figured out they were only reconciling to a register balance. So in QuickBooks, there's a green button, and people that don't know what they're doing, they just make things work until they see that green button, and they hit it and they go on, and not paying attention to what's cleared and uncleared or duplicated. Okay, so we quickly found that they weren't actually. That's their whole job, Betty. Like, they weren't doing anything. That's their whole job is to reconcile bank accounts, and they did nothing of that.
They were just looking for the green button.
Yeah, they're just looking for the green button. And so, and a lot of times that is outsourced accounting. Mm-hmm. It's usually across the pond and just not overseen correctly. Right. But when we got into doing their taxes this year, we found that there was a loan that had not been reconciled. So the bookkeeping company had not reconciled it. It was a $600,000 loan. And so what happens is this was a startup loan, and the bank was directly paying the contractor for the remodel for the building. Okay. So what's happening is we would not be seeing those because they're not coming through the bank account. Well, you would catch that if you're reconciling that loan. Okay. So they didn't reconcile the loan. So they missed about $520,000 worth of improvements.
Wow.
And so then our client had their taxes done by a CPA that didn't catch it. Again, it's vitally important that you ask all the right questions of your CPA, because as if they're just using a software, they're just taking those numbers from those books. And if you do your own books and your CPA is not coming back and asking you 500 million questions, they're not looking at it because it's just wrong. And so they did their taxes and missed all of those, and potentially, $75,000 of like bonus depreciation the first year. I mean, it's just and so now we're having to evaluate. Okay, so we could go back and amend that, but that's money, and so is it worth it? Because it would be in his favor, right? But it's money, and he already paid that person to do that.
How far back can you go back and fix something?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask that. I think that the rule is this is not the world that
we're two people talking to. We're not advising anybody.
This is not tax advice, because this is not my world. I lean on my EA for this. I think it's 6 years.
Okay.
I think. But, and I should know, but I don't.
So you have time to solve, but then you could, the flip side is you may and I'm from what I understand, and again, I'm not in your world, is if you owe, that's a problem.
Yes.
And you owe more than whatever number you come up with. It's probably more than that, because there's interest and other penalties and things.
Yeah.
So get with a good bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Who knows, has a good EA, has the people on your side of the table.
And a lot of people, it's hard to it's an expense that you need to budget for off.
It's such a critical.
And so
part
I think
of
for the people that are in this building. Mm-hmm. There's two issues that I see with like small businesses, like solopreneurs and very small businesses or startups. Two problems. Number one, they're not setting aside money for taxes. They're like living the high life, especially if they're a first-time entrepreneur thinking like, this is awesome.
Yeah, look at all I'm making.
Yeah, look at all this money. Yeah. I never made this much money at work. There's a reason. Yeah. There was overhead. Yeah. There was taxes. They're paying you a livable wage. And so that's the number one problem. The number two problem is they're not paying themselves.
Yeah. Yep. You have to do both those things.
You have to do
to stay in business. You have to do both those things.
Yeah.
So you mentioned here, so we're at the Caddo North Tarrant location here, in it's like on the Colleyville, the split here.
Can we have a best? Can we have a favorite?
I say wherever we are recording this is clearly the best, everybody. So
it is clearly the favorite.
It's up to the other locations to give a shout out.
I've heard that we're the most social location.
Oh, good.
But they may say that. They probably say that to everybody.
Yeah, but we can embody it while we're here.
Yeah. So
tell me why you chose this location. Actually, why'd you choose Caddo from the other opportunities that are out there?
Well, we were tired of working working in our house.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not working. That whole remote thing, I was, I like the option to do it.
Sure.
And as an entrepreneur, I have the option. There's days I want to stay home, but I was ready to be in an office. And I had no idea. We looked at several different places, but none of them had the aesthetics that this place has. None of them had Carla sitting at the front desk. There's just something about the people too. And we just compared all of them, and we were like, Caddo, it's a little bit farther drive for us than the several places that we looked at. So we really evaluated it, but I was like, this is it.
That's excellent.
We love it. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the similar answer that I get with people I talk to is just, there are so many, if you need a list to really appreciate all the things that are here,
yes,
in front of you. Well, that's great.
Yeah. And then the list is, we've met so many friends.
Yeah.
When you're an entrepreneur, it's a lonely world.
Right.
But we have so many friends in the building. Like if you're having a bad day, walk down the hall. Somebody else is having a good day, and they'll encourage you.
Right. Or having a worse day than you, and you
or
can
having a worse
them.
day than you.
You almost have a building full of group therapy.
Y'all can sit in the I think we actually have a couple of therapists over there.
Oh yeah.
That you could probably just knock and do a walk-in session.
Please help me. That's great. And they'll probably say, well, you really need to talk to a bookkeeper.
Yes.
That's the problem you're having is financially based. So get down there.
Yeah.
So parting thoughts for someone who is a new entrepreneur or an older, has been at it a while, and they're on the fence about hiring someone like yourself. I feel like it's an obvious thing, but let's encourage them. Yeah.
If they're doing it themselves, just have a conversation.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to just have the conversation. And I'm kind of like you. I don't want people to work with me that don't want to work with me. I don't twist elbows or anything. And mine is a long-term relationship, so I can't twist their elbows because they're going to be angry with me 6 months down the road if they don't like me. And so there's some of those, but I say just have the conversation, start talking about it, and start budgeting for it. Just start seeing it. And then I think one of my clients, I look at their social media and she's at home playing Monopoly, and I was kind of giggling to myself because my team is texting me about their books, and I'm kind of giggling because she's playing Monopoly with her kids. My team is working on her books, and she doesn't think about it ever,
Doesn't have to worry.
We have clients that we do their sales tax every single month for them. They don't call and ask, do we do it? We send them the confirmation, but I don't even think they open it. They just know it's just taken care of. So it's just this whole nother level of it's just taken care of.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate what you do. And having been an entrepreneur for a while and owned a couple of businesses, I can't tell y'all enough. You have to call someone like Penny because it's a nightmare if you don't do it right. Just get it right and get it done. So I really appreciate you coming on the Caddo Convos and telling us about your business today.
I had fun.
Thank you for joining us today on the Caddo Convos podcast. A huge shout out to our incredible network of members for making our community vibrant and supportive. If you're looking to boost your productivity and reduce the isolation of working from home, consider joining us at Caddo Office Reimagined. Our spaces are designed to meet your evolving needs, support remote work, and foster a sense of community that's hard to find at home. Whether you're a startup aiming for growth, a freelancer seeking a professional setting, or a company looking to optimize resources, Caddo offers a perfect blend of flexibility and innovation. By joining us, you'll be a part of a dynamic business ecosystem that helps you thrive. For more information, visit caddooffices.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Caddo Convos.